Hey everyone, Rich Gasaway here. Just a quick reminder, all the SA Matters show episodes are now available on YouTube, in addition to iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Google Play. Some of the guests I've interviewed here that have had near-miss events have some video or audio that they want to share, and it just wasn't a good format to do it on an audio-only platform like a podcast. So now all the episodes are available on YouTube. Before I kick off today's episode, I want to take a moment to talk about the live virtual training that is now available. How does that work? For those agencies that might not be able to afford a live classroom event, I will come to your organization live via the internet and train all of your members on this important topic. It can't get any easier. It truly is the most affordable way to train your entire team on this important topic. If you want to learn more about live virtual training, visit the SA Matters website and click on the orange box on the right side of the homepage labeled Virtual Training Programs. If you want to talk to me about this program and how it can be incorporated into your training schedule, just click on the Contact Us tab on the top of the homepage and we'll get something set up for you. Okay, that's enough of the announcements. Roll that SA Matters show intro. Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com.
We can dance, everybody look at your hands. We can dance, everybody's taking the chance. Safe to dance, oh it's safe to dance. Yes, it's safe to dance.
Hello and welcome to episode 212 of the Situational Awareness Matters radio show. I'm your host, Rich Gasaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. The SA Matters mission is simple: to help you see the bad things coming and time to avoid bad outcomes. I've been sharing the message of situational awareness and high-risk decision-making at conferences and for individual organizations for 13 years now, and have trained over 65,000 students, including first responders, industrial workers, military personnel, business leaders, medical professionals, utility workers, aviation workers, oil refinery operators, and more. This message truly is for anyone who works in a high-risk, high-stress environment. I'm dedicated to improving your safety and your survival, and I'm here to give you a message of hope, a message of inspiration, and to try to help you accomplish the most important goal of all, and that's to go home to the ones who love you. And speaking of sharing the message, today I'm coming to you from my office in Minnesota. I just returned from 2 stops on the SA Matters tour, one in Charleston, West Virginia, and one in Chicago, Illinois. And I'm glad to be home and spend a few days with my family before I head on to Pennsylvania later this week for a program hosted by the Greensburg Fire Department. Today's feature segment is part 1 of a 2-part interview with a near-miss survivor who thought he was going to a routine call that turned out to be anything but routine, and if circumstances were just slightly different, it could have killed him. But before we get to that, I want to take a moment to talk about the Company Officer Leadership Development Institute. Some of you know my second passion after situational awareness is developing the leadership skills of supervisors, something I didn't do a very good job of when I was the boss. I was guilty of promoting supervisors before they were prepared to lead, and that was my fault. And then I got frustrated when they didn't provide good leadership to their team members and resolve personnel issues quickly. and that was my fault too. So I created the Supervisor Development Institute. This program is customized to run anywhere from 2 days to 5 days, and no matter how long it is, there's no PowerPoint. That's right, no PowerPoint. Can you imagine a week-long class that doesn't use any PowerPoint? Is that even possible? Not only is it possible, but it is a better way to learn the essentials of good leadership. When adults are engaged in the process of learning and not just being lectured to, learning can be fun. And the important part is the lessons stick. In this program, we share practical, actionable best practices for leadership, problem solving, conflict resolution, teamwork, communications, motivation, accountability, generational leadership, discipline, coaching for performance improvement, and more. If you're interested, click on the Contact Us tab and we'll have a discussion. One of the questions I get asked a lot by readers of my blog and listeners and viewers of this show are, when are you coming to my area? Or where are you going to be next? I want to attend a program. Great questions. I've made the answers really easy to find out. I've created a link on the homepage of the SA Matters website for all the upcoming events. Just click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage labeled Live Training Dates. Today's feature segment is part one of a two-part interview with Twinsburg, Ohio firefighter-paramedic Jim Woolf. On March 20, 2003, Twinsburg firefighter-paramedic Jim Woolf responded on Engine 4 to a reported electrical fire in an apartment building under construction. The fire was reported to have been extinguished by workers on site. On arrival, there was nothing showing, and the crews went to the second floor to investigate. What happened next was entirely unexpected and, as Jim stated, could easily have killed him. Let's jump into our discussion with Twinsburg firefighter-paramedic Jim Woolf as he tells his near-miss story. It's my distinct pleasure today to have with me Jim Woolf, a firefighter-paramedic with the Twinsburg Fire Department. And Jim had a near-miss event that when I was in Twinsburg doing a situational awareness class, during class or on the break, Jim told me about this near-miss event, and it literally gave me chills because I realized that if circumstances were just slightly different, Jim could have been seriously hurt or even killed. And I asked him if he would come on and do an episode with me to discuss this event. He agreed to do it. And Jim, I am so excited to have you with me today and to share this story.
As am I. Appreciate the opportunity.
It's going to be a really fun discussion. So let's start with a little bit of your backstory, Jim. Tell the viewers and listeners about who you are and how long you've been around, and about where you work and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. I've been a firefighter since 1988, so almost going on 30 years in the fire service. Probably 95% of that is full-time, and I was on combination departments and volunteer departments at the same time as well. Twinsburg, I've been with the Twinsburg Fire Department in Ohio here for the last about 20 years or so. Prior to that, I was with the city of Maple Heights and a bunch of volunteer departments. And I've run through the ranks of lieutenant, captain on the fire service, hazmat team coordinator, fire investigation unit, county fire investigation unit. Yeah, Twinsburg here, I serve as a firefighter-paramedic, and I'm coming towards the end of the career, so I'm happy to be where I'm at right now. So
now Jim, before we started recording, you kind of threw one at me because you said you've been the police chief too. So how'd that come about? Did you go from like fire to police, then back to fire, or how did that work?
Well, when I was after high school, I went into the military, and I was an Army paratrooper. And when I was in the military, I decided that I wanted to get into law enforcement. Of course, I ended up taking the correct test once I got out and got into the fire service. But I still had that notion of wanting to be a police officer. So back when I was working full time for the city of Maple Heights, I decided to take a lot of vacation time, and I went through the police academy. And at that point, I got hired right away as a part-time police officer, and I kind of went through the ranks of several departments. And a position came up with a small village in the area that they were looking for a police chief. And I just decided, what the heck, let's give it a try. And it was a position where I had to serve so many hours as a full-time police chief, but I didn't have to run a regular schedule. So I was able to work full-time as a firefighter and full-time as police chief. I spent 4.5 years as a police chief, and then I officially retired as a full-time police chief. And then presently I'm a deputy with the Portage County Sheriff's Department, just to hold my commission, and I do some drug task force stuff with them. And so I get a gluttony for the public safety field. So
now, is there ever any good-natured ribbing that you get around the firehouse, that is cop related, or they just pretty much leave you alone on that?
Pretty much on a daily basis. They still like to use that against me sometimes, that I go both ways and everything with the fire and the police and that, and I get it all the time. Yeah.
Now,
but then I also get a lot of respect, because when it comes time for some kind of legal question or something like that, and when I'm doing fire investigations, they turn to me and they're like, okay, what do you think? So,
Right. Yeah, there's definitely value that you bring to the table by having the perspective of both experiences. But I just couldn't imagine firefighters just letting an opportunity like that pass them by.
No. The donut jokes are a daily basis, so that kind of thing.
All right. So the event that we're talking about happened in 2003, in March 20, 2003. So kind of set us up for what like the staffing would be that day, and what your typical daily call volume would be, if you're doing EMS, what that component is, a little bit of the daily operation of the fire department.
Well, Twinsburg, the city of Twinsburg, we're located right between Cleveland and Akron, Ohio, and we've got a population. Back then, it was pretty much the same as it is here now, a little bit more now. We had about a population of 17,000 people. We were running around 2,000 or so calls a year, just like any other fire service. The majority of it was EMS. And we function as everybody on the department, from the chief on down, is a firefighter-paramedic. We have two captains that are grandfathered into not having to serve as a paramedic, but everyone else is a paramedic on down. So that's kind of our forte is as a paramedic service in the community. The department at the time, we ran out of one station. And the station was staffed with, we had an engine crew of 4 who would switch off to a ladder truck depending on the type of call, and then we have a squad crew, and then a shift commander who operates on a separate vehicle.
Okay, give me that staffing one more time. The engine had a crew of what?
We try to keep the engine at a crew of 4.
Okay.
And then 2 or 3 person squad.
Okay.
And then our shift commander. Usually that's the breakdown in the minimum. We have a minimum staffing of 6 and a maximum staffing of usually around 9, but just like any place else, we rarely see that, if ever.
Now, do you have, or at least at that time, did you have any kind of auto aid agreements for reported structure fires with neighboring communities? And I know, that things could have changed and would be very different today, but do you remember back then if you had that?
No, we don't run an auto aid, but we do have the MABUS system, the mutual aid box alarm system, where we have it set up that if it's if the call comes in as a potential working fire, we would automatically call for a second alarm from the Mavis system, which would give us an engine or a ladder, depending on where we're at in the city, and an EMS squad for standby.
Okay. All right. So bring us up to the day of the event. Was the weather good, snowy, cold? Do you remember?
It was actually quite a nice day. It was sunny outside. There were it was a beautiful day. We were sitting around. We had just got through eating lunch. We eat lunch between 11:30 and 1 o'clock, and then this was about 45 minutes after lunch that we got the call.
How to come in?
Well, the call came in as a fire in a apartment complex that's under construction, and it happened to be directly next door to the fire station. The caller stated that the fire was out, so we were just sending basically an engine crew, and the shift commander went over there to check and make sure that everything was extinguished.
So no response time delays. Basically, pull out of the station, make a turn, and on scene.
Make a left turn and make another left turn, and we were on scene. So.
All right. So you had the engine and the shift commander. Was the squad with you too?
The squad, I believe, the squad might have been out on another call, and they were returning.
Okay. So, all right. So describe the building for me.
Okay, these apartment complexes are they're approximately probably about 50 units each, and there are 2-story apartment buildings. The apartment in that we had a fire in was on a second floor towards the back of the building. We have stairwells on each side of the building, and then the main entrance in the center with the elevator up there. So we had to basically run our line coming from either one of the ends of the building, and we ended up at the end of a building coming in and having to run down. And it just so happened that the apartment in question was right in the center of the building, so we had to run the longest line that we had available to us.
So on your arrival, there was, as they had reported the fire out, was there anything showing that you could see on arrival?
No, there was nothing showing. We kind of take a lackadaisical attitude towards it because the fire was already out. We went into the apartment. The apartment had no furnishings or anything like that. Because the building was still under construction, and the way these apartments are set up, you would walk in through the front door of the apartment and walk through to like a small living room area, and then they had a balcony, like a little patio off the back, an open patio. The furnace rooms for these apartments are off of the patio. They're a separate room that's not connected directly to the apartment itself, and the rooms are I'm not even sure what the square footage would be, probably about like maybe 5x8 room or something like that. It wasn't a large room.
Size of a bathroom.
It's just slightly larger than a bathroom. That would be a good analogy there.
Now, before you get too much further, when you got there, I'm sure you were met by someone. What did they tell you?
Construction crews said that they had a fire in the furnace room, and they knocked it down with a dry chemical extinguisher, and that the fire was out, and they just wanted us to make sure that everything was out before they started working again. So in your mind, maybe in the mind of everyone, this is going to be a pretty routine, low-key, no big deal event. Is that what you're thinking? Yeah, that's exactly what it was at that point.
Yeah, at that point. Yeah. Things are about to change, but we're not there yet. Right. All right, so you come in through the living room, out onto the patio, and what's going on?
Okay, we had a 4-person engine crew, and all 4 of us were in, or 3 of us went in we were in our full turnouts. We had our air packs on our backs, but we weren't on air or anything. We were just checking things out. But it's pretty much standard for us to pack up on every call just to be safe.
Sure.
Not knowing what I've been caught before, in the past. So I always make sure that I have the pack at least with me.
Mm-hmm.
So we walked into the apartment, and there's no smoke, nothing showing. They directed us over to the back to the balcony, and that's where the furnace room was at.
Okay.
So, there were not thinking that there was anything going on. The engine did not hook up to a hydrant. We didn't pull a line. Nothing was. This was just a routine check. So that's where things started to change.
Okay.
When my partner and I, we went out onto the balcony, and the third person stayed inside the living room area. And the officer in charge, he was a firefighter that was in an acting lieutenant's position. He stood on the balcony, and I went inside the furnace room, and there was very light smoke in the area, and a little bit of dust from the dry chemical extinguisher. And I noticed that there was a little up in the ceiling area where the furnace went into the ceiling area. There was a scorched area. There was a little bit of structural damage that you could tell that they knocked it down pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this slight plume of smoke that just kept on coming straight up and out. And so there's something smoldering up there, and I realized that.
What color is the smoke?
It was gray to white smoke.
Okay.
It was just something a little smoldering. Now, we also noticed that the gas line to the furnace had been compromised. So we called down, and we had them shut the gas to the building down, because we weren't sure where the shutoff was up in that area at this point. So we just had to shut the gas. The building's under construction. There's nobody living in it anyways. Let's just shut it down. They can turn it back on once they need it.
Yeah.
So we shut it down. Again, we're just there to check out and make sure that that it didn't get any further. So we went down. We grab a ladder. We bring the ladder back up, and I started going up the ladder, and I noticed that it was very dusty, and there was a lot of dry chem up in that area, up in the ceiling area.
Are you talking just a little step ladder here, Jim?
Yeah, just a little giant off the truck.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
It wasn't anything major. It was just it was either the little giant or an attic ladder.
Yeah, so you're just kind of getting up there to see what's going on at the ceiling.
At the ceiling level, because that's where it burned through, was where the furnace went into the ceiling.
Okay.
So yeah, it was nothing. I wanted to find out where that little smoldering spot was, and maybe dump a glass of water on it, because that's all that it was going to take. There wasn't anything there. So at this point, I started going up the ladder, and I stopped, and I said, you know what? There's a lot of chemical up there. There's smoke. I want to make it to the end of my career. And we talk about this a lot, and we've talked about this a lot in the past, that we need to take care of ourselves with cancer and everything. So my partner, I got down, and I told my partner, let me just put my mask on, and I'm going to go, and then I'll go back up. So I went on air. I put my mask on, went on air, got back up onto the ladder, and got up to the ceiling level, and started kind of moving stuff around and seeing where the smoldering was coming from. And not 30 seconds into it, the next thing I remember was watching a large orange ball of flame just come right through that hole in the wall where the ceiling was, hit me in the face, and that was the last thing I remember until maybe a minute or two later, when I found myself laying on my back on the patio, across the patio, on my back, and just wondering what just happened. Had no clue what was happening. I can hear my partner on the radio calling for a command to call for a squad from Hudson EMS to get here as soon as possible, that we had an explosion.
Holy cow.
And I laid there for a second. I was stunned. I had no clue what was going on, except for them shaking me, going, Jim, are you okay? Are you okay? And it was a very surreal moment for me. That's for sure.
So, how long were you in this state of confusion of not knowing what in the heck just happened? Did that last a while, or did you come back around and realize what had occurred?
For me, it lasted for several minutes, and then when I started getting my wits about me, my partner was yelling on the radio that we just had an explosion, that we now have a working fire. He was telling me that he said 30 seconds into it, the entire room was just a burst of orange flame, and it blew out the door. And then the next thing he knew, I was flying out backwards. I bounced off the rail of the balcony and then landed on the floor of the balcony there. So he said he was caught off guard, and he was as dumbfounded as I was, because what he just witnessed, it was just, he'd never seen anything like it in his life. So.
Holy cow. So to keep talking me through then, what happened next and what happened next, because now you're on your back on the floor of the balcony, dazed. He's probably a little bit confused about what's going on. The commander's still inside, like in the living room area, who probably is now wondering what the heck. And
our incident commander was down it was outside in front of the building.
Oh, okay.
There was a third firefighter that was with us, that was off the truck. That was my tool guy. So I was nozzles, he was tool, and then we had the engine officer. And the three of us, what I did at this point was he said, they were telling me to just stay still. And truthfully, I got pissed. I was like, this fire's not going to do this to me. And I said, let's not worry about the squad. Let's get a line up here right now, because we got a fire to take care of. Because at this point, what we determined happened was the gas from the gas leak had filled the void in the ceiling space. And so all that gas found that little spot that I was looking at, that smoldering spot. The gas found that spot, and it just burst. At that point, it erupted into flames. It was just the right combination at the right time. So now we have a working fire throughout the ceiling of the apartment. That whole furnace room is well involved, and we had no line. We had nothing with us, because this was just a routine, let's check and make sure that everything's out. So,
right. You're in the mindset a cup of water is going to take care of this.
Exactly. And it took more than a cup of water. There was a lot going on outside, because as soon as the incident commander, he got caught off guard, and so now they're rushing to get a line or get a water supply established. Luckily, we have hydrants through there that are good hydrants. So they got their water supply established. They actually, when they charged the LDH from the hydrant to the engine, it actually got caught underneath one of the cars in the parking lot and lifted the car up off its wheels in the parking lot. So we had this car sitting on top of our supply line, and we didn't care about it at that point. And my partner's still calling for a squad from mutual aid squad to come in, and we're trying to get a line in, and we ended up. We ended up bringing one line down completely down the hallway, which was a lay of about 250, 300 feet. And then we brought a second line in through the main foyer of the apartment. We brought it up and just brought it up over our stairwell or a balcony that overlooked the main lobby, because the apartment was directly across from that. So,
are you back in commission at this point, Jim, and helping to fight the fire, or are you still
I was
kind of down and out?
There was no way that I wasn't going to. I at that point, I didn't feel any pain or anything. I just knew that this fire wasn't going to get the best of me. So I was in the nozzle position, and I wasn't going to give up that position. So
okay.
So we ended up knocking the fire down and tearing apart the apartment, the ceiling, and getting all the fire. It took us probably another half hour or so of active firefighting before we got the fire knocked down.
Okay.
We still didn't have mutual aid at that point, because we weren't expecting this to be a working fire. So there was no mutual aid, so we had to call mutual aid to come in, and they assisted us eventually. But it's still a 5 to 10 minute response for them to get there before they're able to help us out in any way.
Thank you, Jim, for sharing a portion of your story in this part 1 of the 2-part interview. Be sure to come back next week to catch the second part of Jim's interview. I have a favor to ask of you, the listeners and viewers of this show. The primary reason I created this show was to give a platform to those who've experienced near-miss events and share their stories, like Jim Woolf's. The experiences that have been shared here with me have been nothing short of amazing and extremely educational, and I'd like to get more of these lessons shared with listeners and viewers of this show, but I need your help to do this. If you've experienced or witnessed a near-miss event and would like to have a platform to share your lessons learned with others, please contact me by visiting the SA Matters website and clicking on the Contact Us tab on the top of the homepage. Think about it for a moment. The lessons learned from your near-miss event could save someone else's life. That's really powerful. And what a wonderful gift that would be. If you want to share your experience, just reach out to me. All right, I'd like to take a moment to share a piece of participant feedback from a recent program. This one comes from Daniel Minen, the operations supervisor at the Minnesota Department of Transportation. Dr. Gassaway, thanks for coming and speaking to the MnDOT District 3 employees yesterday at our annual event. Your message on situational awareness and high-risk decision-making was very well received, and I received many great compliments on your presentation. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Dan, for sharing that feedback. I really appreciate it. The program from MnDOT was targeted toward helping those who work on highways to have better situational awareness of their surroundings and to help them to be able to anticipate motorist actions that can impact their safety. If you want to send me some feedback, I'd love to hear from you. Just go to the SA Matters website and click on the Contact Us tab. Okay, as I always do, I want to take a moment to thank the companies, organizations, and agencies that have hosted some recent situational awareness matters training. I do this to show my thanks to those who organize, advertise, and fund great training on this important topic. Recent SA Matters tour stops included the Bureau of Land Management Leadership Symposium in Billings, Montana, the International Fire Department Instructors Conference in Indianapolis, Indiana, the Idaho Fire Chiefs Association Conference in Sun Valley, Idaho, Georgia Pacific Corporation in Madison, Georgia, Spruce Grove Fire Department in Spruce Grove, Alberta, the West Virginia Public Safety Expo in Charleston, West Virginia, and Paramedic Services of Illinois. If you're interested in attending an upcoming SA Matters Tour Stop event, on May 19th I'll be in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, May 22 in St. Francis, Minnesota, May 24 Tysons Corner, Virginia, May 26 Fredericton, New Brunswick, May 29, June 4, 5, 11, and 14 back in St. Francis, Minnesota. I'm actually doing some work for a company there called Temperature Specialists. and June 13th in Henderson, Nevada for Fire Rescue Med. Then I'm taking a month off. That's right, a whole month. And during that time, I'm going to celebrate the graduation of my youngest from high school, Micah. Yay, Micah, congratulations. And I'm going to be taking my annual trip to the Boundary Waters Wilderness Canoe Area. Oh, and I'm getting a colonoscopy too. Woohoo! What a pain in the butt that's going to be, right? Is that oversharing? No, seriously. If you're over 50, get scoped. It could save your life. Okay, if you're interested in seeing the locations of all the upcoming SA Matters Tour Stop events, head over to the website, click on that blue box on the right side labeled Live Training Dates. Just keep in mind it's always changing, so check back often. If you're interested in hosting a program, just click on the Contact Us tab and we'll get something set up. There are already 80 plus programs scheduled for 2018. And programs are being scheduled for 2019. Here's a heads up. 2018 has filled up much faster than I had ever expected, causing some programs now to be pushed into 2019 sooner than expected, which means the 2019 inventory of dates is going to become scarce fairly soon. This is a great problem to have, knowing that the topic of situational awareness is so popular, but it's also a challenge to be able to provide programs for hosts on specific dates. The more flexible your dates are, the more likely I may be able to accommodate your request. If you think your department might be interested in hosting a program and you want to save some money, consider hosting a companion program. These are programs on adjoining dates to other programs that I have somewhere within the region where you are. So if I'm within a couple hours of you, and you see that on the calendar, to reach out to me and say you're interested in a companion program, and you can save as much as 20% off the program fee. I have great staff. They'll make it very easy for you to set up a program. Just reach out to us. If you want to get connected with me and become part of this mission, there are several ways you can do that. There are over 75,000 people connected here through our newsletter membership, podcast subscribers, YouTube subscribers, and followers on our social media feeds, Facebook page, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Through these channels, we share ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to improve the skills of critical thinking and resilient problem solving. All right, let's start with the newsletter. The newsletter is completely free. The newsletter will come to you via email once a month. The newsletter contains featured content from more than 400 articles from the SA Matters blog and more than 200 podcast episodes from SA Matters radio shows and more than 300 videos from the SA Matters YouTube channel. And occasionally in the newsletter, I'll offer the subscribers special discounts on books, videos, virtual training, and the online academy. But those specials are only for the newsletter subscribers. The newsletter truly is the best way for us to stay in touch with each other. And there are two ways you can subscribe to the newsletter. First, if you're in the U.S. and you have a smartphone, you can text SA Matters to 22828. That's the letter S as in Sam, the letter A as in Adam, and the word Matters. SA Matters, all together, one word, to 22828. 22828. Be sure to watch your autocorrect because it might try to change the word SA Matters to something else. If you do it right, you'll get a text message back to enter your phone number, to enter your email address, and then you'll be all set up with the newsletter. It's that simple. Now, I know some of you don't have a smartphone and you don't like to do that texting thing, or maybe you're located outside the United States. In that case, you can just swing by the samatters.com website and click on the red box on the right side of the homepage that says Free Membership. For the podcast, you can subscribe to the podcast show by searching for SA Matters Radio on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play. You can also subscribe to the SA Matters YouTube channel by searching SA Matters TV. All one word, SA Matters TV on YouTube. On Facebook, you can follow the SA Matters page on Facebook. On Twitter, you can follow @RichGasaway. On LinkedIn, you can search for Rich Gasaway. All right, finally, the SA Matters show and the SA Matters TV YouTube channel have been very blessed to enjoy over 800,000 downloads and views. This makes this show officially the longest running, fastest growing, independently operated, safety focused show on the internet. And I'm looking for an additional sponsor. So if your company is interested in advertising your products or services on this show, have them contact me through the SA Matters website. Well, that's it. Episode 212 is complete. Thank you to our guest, Twinsburg Fire-Medic Jim Woolf. Thank you to our awesome sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thank you to all the companies, agencies, and organizations that have hosted SA Matters training programs. Thank you to all those organizations that have hosted the live, virtual, internet-based training programs. Thank you to the more than 2,000 students and graduates of the acclaimed Situational Awareness Matters Online Academy. And most importantly, thank you, the listeners and viewers of this show, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gasaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit samatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgasaway.com.